they never used to go on holidays or anything. They never used to do this. They used to do things just
Yeah.
for me and my sister. So I think that's So I mean, I can only say thank you to my parents, to be honest.
Right.
There was a moment, like a turning point, where I was just like, I can't be having this. I kind of realised that my operation was quite a severe one, so I was in there for like 4 or 5 hours. And I was like, and when I was sat at the ward, I was like crying about it and stuff. I was just, but I just didn't want to show the people around me that that's how I was feeling. I had like denial to realisation there was something wrong, to kind of like really down, properly down. I had like big wins. I never really felt proud of myself. It was kind of I wanted something bigger and better.
Would you say climbing the mountain is worth the view? The reason that we kind of decided to do the podcast was to try and see whether this was like kind of normal, because we were thinking that we was doing something wrong.
Backup plans are for people who don't see the positives in kind of the thing you're currently doing.
So it's an absolute pleasure to have one of our most dedicated, resilient and remarkable guests on the show so far. As you will hear, his journey to succeed has been truly astonishing and will be an inspiration to us all. So it's with great pleasure to welcome professional MMA fighter George Smith on Elite Children, a Family Portrait, to share his secrets and sacrifices of his professional journey so far. So George, welcome to the show.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
That's okay. Thank you for agreeing to come on the show, because I know at the moment with your training and with your fighting, I know your schedule's really tight. So thank you for coming on and sparing the time with us.
No problem.
Before we start, I wanted to share a story that you did a while ago, and it was one of the reasons, or one of several reasons, why we wanted to get you on the show. And it was an article you did post-operation, which I'm sure we'll get into later on in the show. And you just wanted your story to engage with young children, young people, to listen to the bodies more, and any young children with aspirations, regardless of what they go through, to follow their dreams. And it was just something that resonated really well with us on the show. So I just thought it was quite fitting that we share that with everybody as well. So just thought it was quite nice. So
no, thank you. It's not a bad thing to aspire to, is it? It's not.
No, definitely not. Okay, then. So let's get on with the show. So before we start, so the listeners can get to know you a little bit better, my children have come up with 10 quick fire would you rather questions. Because it's a family portrait, we have Sebastian with us today. Sebastian was a keen boxer a while ago, wasn't you? And when we was reading up on you and watching different kind of clips of your fights, Sebastian was really excited about kind of watching them.
That's what it's all about.
And especially one fight that you had against an opponent called Ryan Houston. I think you finished him off in about 12 seconds, I think it was. It was mental, wasn't it, Sebastian?
I was pretty charged up that night. I sold a lot of tickets, so I was getting really excited. The crowd was pretty loud. Yeah, it was good.
So that was one of your favourite ones, wasn't it? Of many, shall we say? So I'll pass you over to Sebastian now, and then Sebastian, you can ask your would you rather questions. Okay? Yeah. There we go.
Would you rather game or read a book?
Game, definitely.
Would you rather win $1 million or earn $1 million?
Earn $1 million, because nobody will ask you for anything from it. Then, if you win $1 million, everyone always wants free handouts because you got it free. So there's a.
Would you rather have a takeaway or eat out?
Takeaway.
What's your favourite food?
Anything Asian food, but let's go Thai food.
Thai. You'd like that because you like spicy things as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's it. Tough man.
Would you rather listen to Stormzy or Drake?
Stormzy.
Would you rather wear Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Would you rather own a Bugatti or a Lamborghini?
Ooh, not bad choices. These are ones that I can, ones that bad. I'm gonna go Lambo.
Would you rather do cardio or lift weights?
Lift weights all day, all day.
Would you rather play Spider-Man or the Incredible Hulk in a Marvel film?
Spider-Man.
Everyone goes with Spider-Man, don't they,
Yeah.
Sebastian?
Yeah.
He just can do so much stuff. Like Hulk's just massive and strong, and he's the Spider-Man's got lots about him. It seems he can do everything.
Would you rather have a drink with Josh Warrington or Conor McGregor?
That's tough. I have actually kind of had a drink with Josh Warren, so I'm going to say Conor McGregor. But that's a good question. That was a tough one.
Would you rather compete at your beloved Ellen Road or Wembley?
Ellen Road all day, all day. That's not even. That's not a close one. That was an easy. That was an easy win. That one.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Sebastian. You're going to say bye-bye to George.
No, appreciate it.
Bye.
Good to meet you as well. Good to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Good.
All right. Thank you,
man.
Sebastian. Okay, then. So before we start, I think the most important question is, do you think your beloved Leeds United are going to stay up this season now you've got Big Sam in charge?
From the final games, I think there's only really West Ham or Tottenham that we can realistically look at points from.
You've got a tough 4 games, haven't you, really?
Yeah,
to be fair.
I think if we'd have stayed the same, we would have gone down if we'd have kept Gracia. So this is just a lot. This is just a lottery now. It's like a flip of a coin, isn't it? Whatever happens.
Yeah.
I think if there's reports like there was a player rift and the players had fallen out with each other. So I was saying to my friends a few weeks ago, we need a man manager in there, not necessarily a tactical one, because if the players have lost their heads or need bringing together, maybe a strong man like Allardyce is the one. But it's not. It's not going to be the style of football we're going to enjoy. But it's hopefully we stay up.
Fingers crossed, because it is rather tight down there at the moment, isn't it? Because I think it's like yourself, Leicester and Forest that are on the same points, and then one point kind of above.
And then Everton as well. It just shows how bad those teams are. If we've been this bad and we're still outside of the so we are must be all pretty bad teams. All the Premier League is really strong all the way through it. So it's making some teams look really bad at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay then. So as you know, the podcast is to shine a light on the secrets and sacrifices all families go through to allow their children to become elite level athletes. And that's something really close to our hearts with having 4 children currently on the journey. So my first question is, could you take me back to your earliest childhood memories when you was living at home in Shelf near Halifax, and just give us an insight into family life when you was growing up and you was at school?
Yeah, so I've come from like a fairly active family, so there wasn't not like I wouldn't say athletes, but my mum could play sport. My granddad was very sport. My dad is very is into sport, and he done sport as a child. So it was kind of that was a normal thing. I was mostly into football when I was young.
Right.
But I was mainly taken to martial arts because I was quite a badly behaved child, or not badly behaved, but I had loads of energy, so it was kind of a way of gaining discipline. So I was doing football and judo mainly at the time, all the way up until I was probably like 11. And I'd like a few like academy stints in football and things like that when I was a bit young. But it kind of didn't give me what I wanted football, even though I wish I'd had a suck at it because it's much more lucrative. But it is. I don't know, something that I just knew at the time, but this isn't fulfilling me. I need something, maybe an individual sport, something where I can like challenge myself and not be. So fighting it. Well, judo mainly at the time was the one. I think I started judo when I was 4. But I've done every sport. I was playing rugby league, rugby union. There wasn't really a sport I didn't do. Just out of pure enjoyment, I just love sports. I'm still the same. I also watch every sport I can. every
Yeah.
evening's full watching sports. So it's all come from my childhood. I think it's all I know,
Yeah.
really.
Oh, right. Okay. So I'd read that you won your first national at 14. So with
Yeah.
winning like your first, like say judo national at 14, what was like what was a typical day like for you when you was at school? Did you miss much school because you was competing, or was you training like before school, or?
Yeah, I did most of my training. I'd probably go for like runs or do my weight stuff maybe early morning, but
Okay.
most of the time it was kind of mostly evening thing. So my evenings are pretty packed.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, well, I didn't necessarily miss school. I went to a sports college, so it was kind of accepted that sometimes you may miss it for rugby or you may miss
Yeah.
it for judo. There's bits of class, but I didn't miss large periods of training.
Right. Ah, right. Okay. So then, growing up, when you was on this kind of professional journey with your judo, would you say that you had a normal kind of childhood, presuming that there's many kind of hours, days, weeks, and
Yeah,
months of like kind of training? Because I know from speaking to kind of past guests, different guests have said that they've been getting up early and doing kind of training before school, or they've sacrificed going out with friends, or they've missed like kind of birthdays and like say Christmas days, for instance. Would you say you had like kind of a normal childhood when you was growing up?
yeah. So my parents are very relaxed. So I kind of they wouldn't. I wasn't pushed into anything. I was given
Right.
the range to kind of do everything I want. So if I
Okay.
wanted to go to a party or
Yeah.
if I wanted to do this, it was never like something where I felt like I couldn't do. So
Right.
it became like it was more out of my own choice that I didn't do them.
Okay.
Um, so that's it. So that's what it's become habitual now that I just miss things. So
Right.
it's not even like a big deal to me. It's just, but yeah, I would say I've missed quite a lot of, especially um, more like the regular nights out, like the ones on especially when you're going like 3 times on a weekend and things like
Yeah.
that when you're young. I've missed that. I've probably gone out once, and then so I could train the next day or train the day
Yeah.
after.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
but I wouldn't say it's never felt like I've missed out on anything. It's kind of been something that I've chosen not to do, which I
Yeah.
think it make. I don't. Yeah. So I've got no resentment towards missing any time when I was young.
Yeah, that's similar to quite a lot of the guests that we've had on. We had
Yeah.
Tom Smith, a professional cricketer who plays for
Yeah.
Gloucestershire, and we was asking him whether he had a normal childhood, and he said he didn't have a normal childhood, as in a sense that he'd go on a summer holiday. His kind of cricket season was April to say September, and he'd be
Yeah.
away for that kind of period. However, he said it wasn't really a sacrifice him not going out because that's just something that he really wanted to do, and he
Yeah.
was kind of prepared to like kind of make that kind of lifestyle kind of change because he knew that's what he needed to do to be this professional kind of
That.
cricketer. So you
Yeah.
probably see it in a different kind of light, don't you? Really?
Yeah, and yeah, I think obviously your childhood shapes you as well. Like my family have always owned pubs and things like that.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so I had like pubs in the family, and then so drinking to me was kind of something that wasn't really like I wasn't like, oh, I need to do it. It's like
Yeah.
something I've always been able to have the access to. Like I probably always had been able to have some alcohol even when I was like really young.
Yeah.
Um, like not as encouraged, but it was like it wasn't something that I think my parents took the stance that you don't want to make it like a taboo subject. It's just something
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's just in front of you. It's just there. It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got the idea that like alcohol is negative, like on most people's lives from the people that I
Yeah.
saw in the clubs,
Yeah.
the pub, sorry. So I was like that. I'd rather be more like them, like an athlete, than I would rather be drinking and that. Which I was just that's just always been in my head. So
Yeah.
when I get older now, I've never felt like I missed out on anything. So I see the negatives of it. So
Right.
yeah, I think
Okay.
it was pretty easy for me.
So was that the same? So again, we'd read that when you was around about 17, you relocated to the Midlands
Yeah,
to train full time with like Team GB.
yeah,
Um, was this quite like kind of a big kind of step moving away from family, or again, did you kind of see it as part of the journey, or how did
yeah.
you kind of feel at the time when you knew you probably had to like kind of leave home for
It
the
was.
first time?
I think it was something that I kind of wanted, needed. Um, I wanted that step up in training. I wanted like the access to do day sessions as
Yeah,
and really like push myself. Um, and yeah, it just felt natural. Like I wasn't all my friends were at college or there was and things like that. So if I could do that. Like I got accepted into like a really good sixth form,
Okay.
Crossheath grammar school, and I just didn't. I just knew I wasn't going to get what I wanted out of it,
Right.
and I wasn't. And then when that offer came up and I wanted to go down there, it was just a no-brainer to me. I wanted to travel the world, fight around the world. It was that's just what I wanted to do. So it was a natural part of
Yeah.
me kind of thing.
Right. So I asked the question because our oldest, she competes, she plays tennis, and at the moment she's traveling abroad to compete in like these ITF like kind of tournaments. And we always think that she might be like kind of almost a little bit sad that she's kind of like leaving
Yeah,
like mum and dad. However, I think she sees it as like it's an adventure. She's seen another kind of country, so she goes to Nigeria in a few weeks, kind of competing with like one of
yeah,
her friends, which is an amazing experience
yeah,
for her,
100%. Yeah,
and something that she'll always have like as a memory for as long as she like kind of lives. However, again, like yourself, she almost sees it as kind of part of the journey, whereas kind of parents, we're thinking like, oh, she doesn't seem that like kind of bothered that she's like kind of leaving home, and she's just dead excited about doing
yeah.
it. However, again, the flip side of it is from the athlete's kind of perspective is that it's just it's kind of part of the kind of journey into it and the
Yeah. Well,
experience of the
I think
sports.
I think with how I saw it as well was I I didn't want to just do normal things. Like I didn't want to do normal things. I wanted to
Yeah,
do something that kind of like no matter even if well, like when I stop fighting or something, I'm not going to get a normal job. Like whatever job I do is going to be kind of or whatever everything I do has to
yeah,
be like it's like I feel like I can do a lot of work in a very short period of time. So that's what I'm
yeah.
used to.
Right. Okay.
So anything I do, I'm very fast at doing it. I
Yeah,
get it done. I'm like so. I just didn't want like the school days and college days. Never really even nothing excited me. That was just long, and it was
yeah,
just seemed too rigid for
yeah,
me how
yeah,
I like function. So I think
yeah,
as athletes, I think you've it just everything just becomes it's just your way of life.
yeah,
It's something you just kind of know. Like some people get stressed about traveling on a plane, but I've done it that
yeah.
much. It's just you just step on. It's like getting in a car. It's because
Yeah, yeah. Right, okay.
it's just part of your life. But I think that if you the only major anxiety I had was whether I was doing the right thing,
Okay.
because especially when I was doubtful about the training quality at the time and things like that, you become a bit. That's the only thing that ever like rocked me was I don't mind losing, I don't mind whatever, but if my training's not good and I'm losing
Yep,
because of the training
yep,
environment or kind of the knowledge I'm being fed, then I
yep.
don't think that's something I was uncomfortable about. But the
Okay.
losing is not the uncomfortable; it's the actual like having trust in your environment is kind of
Yeah.
was more a big thing to me.
Okay. So on your journey then, did you have like say the full support of your kind of parents? Because I know from
Yeah,
briefly watching like kind of your say MMA fights recently,
yeah,
it's a brutal kind of sport to be
yeah.
involved in. Was there any kind of like fallouts with kind of parents because of the chosen kind of sport that you was going into?
Not not really. No, I think my mum. So me and my sister, she's like an incredibly like she's an incredibly academic person,
Right.
and
Okay.
she like speaks multiple languages. She went through all that the grad schemes fairs in a large corporation. So my mum could tell there was a massive difference between
Right.
us two.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so that was that's there was never like them that it was like, oh, he needs to do what she does. He was like,
Yeah.
I don't think he can do what she does.
Yeah.
That kind of probably how they looked at me. And if this is
Okay.
and and I'm very disciplined as well, and things like that. So they saw the positives of it. So whatever I translate these skills
Yeah.
into, even if I finished at 25 or even 21, like the things I've picked up along the way are probably going to be skills that I can take forward. So I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
my parents were always really positive about what I was doing and still are, to be honest. Like the most supportive parents you could
Right.
imagine. To be honest,
Ah. Right.
never
Okay.
not pushy, but I've got very, very, very
Yeah.
supportive parents.
So
Yeah,
do you think your parents sacrificed to kind of allow you to be this professional
100%.
kind of athlete? And do you think it was kind of like financial sacrifices or sacrifices due to like kind of time, or sacrifice to kind of
everything,
siblings or
like
everything?
everything. Like honestly, like my parents have probably sacrificed as much for me as putting my sister through uni and all things
Right.
like that. But they're like, especially time. My dad's
Yep.
probably driven me like everywhere. Like we've been literally everywhere.
Yep.
He's took me everywhere. He'd come back from work late to take me places, and it's financially as well. I know financially they're okay now, but at the time there was like really pushing that like their financial a bit. I don't know how you say, but like financial ability or whatever,
Yep.
to like get me and my sister to where we wanted to be. So like
Okay.
that, they saw that as like, I'm just assuming, but they saw that as their like duty, their like thing to do
Yep.
for. So even when we was younger, when money wasn't as like when my dad wasn't as financially well off as he
Yep.
ended up being as I got later in life, he's he was kind of like yeah, they never used to go on holidays or anything. They never used to do this. They
Okay.
used to do things just for
Yep.
me and my sister. So I think
Yep.
that's yeah. So I mean, I can only say thank you to my parents for this. For what they've done.
Right. Okay. So on the journey then, what would you say has been like, say, your biggest kind of sacrifice to date? So we had Max Brabara on. So he's a professional ice hockey player, or was a professional ice hockey
Yeah.
player. And he said like one of his biggest sacrifices was his education.
Mm,
When he was growing up, he had the choice of either taking a professional contract or it was to get a full scholarship to college, and he wanted that professional kind of
mm,
contract straight away. So
100%.
he just thought that could be his only chance for it. So he decided to take his contract.
Mm,
Whereas like now he's finished his career, he's just going back to like kind of his education. And when we asked him
mm,
the question, he just said like it's probably his kind of education, but then two, obviously he sacrificed his time with his family and friends and etc.
mm.
So what would you say your biggest sacrifice to date's been?
Um, it's a tough one. It's like I would say I don't know. Like school never really fit me.
Right.
School never really fit for me. So it was like
Yep.
I don't ever see school as like something that I've sacrificed because it.
Yep.
I mean, I love documentaries. I'm like a history nerd. Like I love like that's just like I'm really interested in loads of things, politics
Right.
and
Yep.
um. But when it was taught in a school setting where you have to take notes and you have to write loads of stuff and do
Yep.
this, it just never really fit me. So school education is not one, but maybe like friend time and stuff like
Yep.
that. Like my group of friends, that they're a lot closer to each other,
Yep.
not by choice, but just by what's happened because
Yep.
it's kind of a lot of my friends are just they're all living together, like living around each other in London or
Yep.
wherever, and they've so that's a big thing. That I'd probably just say your time spent with
Yeah.
friends and time spent with family as well. Probably
Yeah.
like there's
Okay.
times where but again it's not something that I look back and regret. It's like all my friends, all them same friends came to support me at my last fight and stuff. So we're
Right.
also really
Okay.
close. But
Yeah.
it's just I feel like I probably missed out on more time with them.
Yeah.
Done things like they go on a lot of holidays and
Yeah.
and I don't. But that's again, my life is I don't have to work a 9 to 5 to kind of support that
Yeah.
kind of. I'm doing something a little bit different, so it kind
Yeah.
of there's swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So in 2019, you had two fights where you said your training was a little bit more kind of difficult than you'd kind of
Yeah,
previously found. And this is where you started experiencing like kind of chest cramps,
mm,
and you had sporadic moments of high and low heart rates.
yeah,
And then you were later diagnosed with atrial fibrillation,
yeah,
which causes these abnormal heart rhythms. Something that said that it can be quite detrimental to kind of athletes who push themselves on a daily
yeah,
basis, like
100%.
yourself. And then in July 22, this is where you had your operation called ablation.
Mm.
Can you kind of just take us back to the time where you kind of found this out and you going through the kind of procedures, and was there kind of part of you that seriously thought about kind of giving up because of the
Yeah,
severity of what you was kind of going through at the time?
yeah. So kind of what I went through for like probably 2 or 3 years training wise, without knowing I was ill, it kind of, if training was like that, how I'd felt then, and like fighting was like how I felt then I knew I wouldn't want to do it again. But when I spoke to the doctors, it was kind of, you're having this surgery to get you better, so you're not going to feel like this. That's the aim. So I was in my, there was the times when I was thought, life's okay without fighting, life's okay without training, but there was like moments when I was like waking up, looking at myself in the mirror. I'm not used to seeing myself out of shape. I'm not used to seeing that, and that was like, there was a moment, it's like a turning point when I was just like, can't be having this. And then it was like, because it's just something I'm not used to. But getting diagnosed, it was kind of more like a relief, but also like oh no, I've got to actually get this sorted now. But the relief was, it all makes sense now how I felt. So there's a relief there in getting diagnosed, knowing that getting the treatment was going to be the thing that would get me, like, make me not feel like that. So that's so it was like, it was like a mixture of emotions, and but I'm just kind of, I just don't want people. I never wanted people around me to think I was like majorly upset, and like, so they take on that burden. So I just kind of made it. I never let my mum know, my like, or anyone know that I was feeling down. I just thought, I'm just going to treat this like on the way into I kind of realized that my operation was quite a severe one. So I was in there for like 4 or 5 hours. But I didn't, when I was walking into the hospital, I was kind of dancing on the way in, just kind of put on a show for everyone, just to say, like, he's fine, I'm okay. Like, I got in there and I was like, and when I was sat at the ward, I was like crying about it and stuff. I was just, but I just didn't want to show the people around me that so that's how I was feeling. Which I think, like, that obviously helped them. But when I got out, I was like, thank God that's over. That was horrendous.
So do you know? So you kind of mentioned about when you were, do you know, when you was probably more out of shape and you was looking in the mirror and you didn't kind of like what you saw. Did you almost feel as if like all the kind of like the hours and the kind of like weeks and months, all that kind of training, did you kind of almost feel as if it was like for nothing? Did it almost feel as if you'd be, kind of starting from kind of scratch again?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I had that feeling massively. I think that's why I didn't get diagnosed either, because I was kind of, I didn't want to give myself an excuse as to why I was feeling the way I was. I wanted it to be like I didn't want it to be anything like that. I wanted it to, because I needed to train harder or something like that. I wanted it to be something to do with me. So I saw a sports psychologist. I saw like I moved gyms. I was like training like a more like traditional spit and sawdust kind of gym, where it was like a lot harder training, but kind of it and I was feeling still unfit there, and there's loads of moments where it kind of came up, but when I was like, oh no, something really is wrong here. Like, like, I'm training so hard, I'm doing all this stuff, and then I'm feeling like really unfit. Like, I'm doing a little jog around the mat to warm up, and my chest is tightening. So I think I was just kind of, I don't know, I was in denial. And then when I came out of, and then when I got diagnosed, I was still kind of like, this is like, what do I do now? Like, what? Because the only thing I knew was like getting up out of bed, having breakfast, and going to the gym. That was kind of all I knew. And then when you're like not doing that anymore, you're like, what is this about? Like, what, this isn't me. I don't feel like myself. And it was, so it was, I had like denial to realization there was something wrong, to kind of like, to like really down, like properly down. And then, then I got sorted, and then it was like, I felt like I was on a journey again to get better and to get back to where I am now.
Okay. Well, no, again, from kind of past guests that we've had on, we've had Team GB swimmer, Jay Elliott on. And at 13, he had 2 brain tumours removed, it was. And then 2 years later, he reached his first like kind of national swimming final. And then a couple of years later after that, he was doing his like Olympic kind of time trials. So again, from kind of speaking to different like kind of guests like yourself, the kind of like the mental resilience and the toughness, determination is just like, it's just unbelievable, really, because
Yeah,
quite a lot of people would kind of go through that, and they wouldn't kind of see the kind of end goal that you guys kind of do, and
yeah.
into wanting to kind of compete again, and to go through everything that they've kind of gone through to kind of come out the other side.
Yeah,
So I think there's a certain like kind of mentality and like kind of intrinsic motivation that's
oh,
just phenomenal with
100%. Yeah. No,
professional
I,
athletes.
well, I was saying after this weekend, I was like, I when you're a fighter, you kind of like lies in fast forward. So even when you have a win, well, this is
Yep.
what it is for me. Even when you had wins, which were kind of classed as like big wins, I never
Yep.
really felt proud of myself. It was kind of,
Okay.
I wanted something bigger and better.
Yep.
Um, but then the moment I got in the cage this weekend
Yep.
and won, it was the first time I kind of felt proud of myself because I've kind of
Right.
saw, because I'd
Yep.
seen the depths of
Yeah.
what, I'd seen what, and then I saw how low you can get.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then not that I was happy with, like, I wasn't happy with the level of the win. Like, I was expecting to win, but I was just happy with the fact, like, in the warm up area, I was kind of like, I was expecting like my heart to tighten up again and things. So I
Yeah.
thought that was just normal. So I didn't know
Yeah.
what was
Yeah.
normal anymore.
Right.
And
Okay.
and then it never happened. And then as literally as I was about to walk into the cage, I was like I
Yeah.
felt really good when I walked in. So I was like, it's not happened again. Like the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
warm up, I've not felt it, and I was just so happy. Like I was happy that I've gone on like a journey. And
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
got to like a little bit of an end point. So I think I said it on the microphone afterwards. I was like, I'd say it's the first time I've actually ever been proud of myself, like 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 a proud
Yeah.
way, like 'cause that's
Yeah.
so yeah. It's been a journey. So yeah, I mean it's something. Um, yeah, it's something to talk about.
Yeah.
It's part of me now, so that's good.
Right. Okay. So, kind of touching on that, then, obviously from winning your first like national judo medal
Mm,
at 14, and then representing Team GB, like we've kind of
mm,
mentioned, becoming British and European junior
yeah,
champion, winning 11 out of 12 amateur MMA fights, and then making it to the top of the national rankings, turning pro in 2018, and then obviously your heart operation. Would you say climbing the mountain is worth the view?
I'd like I'm not fully where like I'm not where like I felt like at one point I was going to before I was going to get to like a peak that I would be happy with,
Yep.
like because I felt like I was on a run, and
Okay.
I was like probably one or two fights away from where I felt like I was going to get to like a decent level where I'll be happy
Yep.
with it,
Okay.
um like the UFC or sort of. But then when all this stuff happened, I was just it kind of it changed things then to a point where now I want to go higher again because
Yep.
like I don't know, I've tasted like the me at my bottom, like I want to go like
Yep.
further than further than before. Like I feel like
Yeah.
with the if I can get back in after what I've been through, then I feel like I can do pretty much anything. That's how I do
Yeah.
feel. Um,
So is that
so
your
yeah,
next? Is that your big kind of like kind of goal? UFC? Is that the?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I feel like I was within Cage Warriors. I probably was probably two fights away from that, like a belt, like
Wow.
so
Yep.
so that's a bit frustrating. But it's kind of it's like again, it's just part of the story now. Um,
Yep.
I feel like I was in a rush before, and I was just taking fights because I didn't want to slow myself down. So probably when I was feeling ill, I just wanted
Yep.
to keep moving and
Yep.
just getting fights and stuff. Where now I'm just a lot more calculated. I've
Yep.
slowed myself down. I've got like good people around me to kind of say, just we'll take the right fights for you.
Yep.
We've got like a plan for you now,
Yep.
which I definitely need. You can't just
Right. Okay.
like a lot of athletes kind of well, especially fight athletes, to go through with literally no plan.
Yep.
It's kind of just take this fight for take this fight against an absolute killer for absolutely no money. There's no reward at the end of it, and
Yep.
then you end up back down at the bottom for no good reason. Where I feel like, especially now with what I've been through, I do actually need a plan. I need somewhere to kind of something to kind of like tick off the boxes to get to
Yeah.
where I need
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I'm in a good place. So that's kind of happy. I'm happy about that.
Right. Okay. Good. Good. So at the end of every show, we have a tradition, and we ask all our guests whether they have any famous quotes or philosophies that they use on like a daily basis. And one of our last guests that we had on, Will Draper, who's a professional triathlete, he mentioned one to us that he said Rome wasn't built in a day. He said, but they were laying bricks every hour. So basically, he was saying like just kind of keep chipping away at your goals. Try not to kind of focus on kind of the outcome, and the objective slowly will be like kind of met. So is there anything that you've kind of like used to kind of get through your like kind of darker times and things that kind of like motivate you and inspire you along the way?
I'm so strange with like inspirational stuff because I do actually all those things that you just said are kind of part of my like philosophy as such.
Right.
How I think is like
Yep.
process, not outcome,
Yeah.
chipping away, doing like
Yep.
turning up every day, brushing your teeth, get out of bed, just doing like the normal,
Yeah. Yeah.
like like the good stuff. But I take a lot of I like I don't know. I'm really influenced by like crowds and things like that. I'm
Right.
influenced by watching big events and big
Yep.
boxing fights and stuff, and seeing kind of people achieve their dreams, which is kind of especially those big moments where they're winning the title in the hometown or something.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like quotes as such. I'm not really like although I like talking, I'm not really like I wouldn't even know like I wouldn't read enough of quotes to actually see to get a quote to feel that, but like it's like moments that really get
Yeah.
to me,
Right. Okay.
and seeing like a journey to that moment, which is you'll see like for instance, I was there that night when Josh Warrington beat Lee Selby at Ellen Road,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and knowing how hard he trains and like the moments he's been through
Yeah.
to be that opponent in that place and that time, it's kind of it makes you think of what he's actually done to kind of get there. So it was
Yeah.
so
So
instead without a quote, it's just kind of seeing these guys achieve the moments like the Leeds United players when they got promoted to the from the Championship and stuff, or
yeah.
like the staying up in the Premier League or whatever it is. You just I really like moments in front of crowds. Me,
Yeah.
I kind of hunt them down. I go and watch as many of these big
Yeah.
moments as I possibly can.
Well, they normally say a picture paints 1,000 words anyway. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I think we had um, oh, I'm forgetting his name now. Is an ultra marathon, Lee Grantham, sorry. So we had Lee
yeah,
Grantham on not so long ago. And it was when he was telling us a story of when he first came across ultra marathon running. And he said there's a famous race in Granada. And he was saying that people would see them on like the podiums in like kind of first, second, and third place. And he said that moment only lasts for like kind of a second. And he said people
yeah,
will see them on the podium, but he said people should be looking at them slightly different in seeing like how many like kind of hours and weeks and days
yeah,
and months and all the effort and all the hard work and all the sacrifices that's gone into them getting on the podium, because that podium finish only lasts for a couple of seconds, where it's all the kind of hard work and
yeah.
the
That's
dedication
why
that people
I
don't
don't.
see.
Well, I don't really criticize too many athletes either. Like if they're given the best, like
Yeah,
even losing athletes and stuff, because it's kind of people don't normal people do not really understand that what the sacrifices that these people have got,
yeah,
especially talking like ultra marathon runners or
yeah,
triathletes and things like that. Just think
yeah,
the amount of hours that they've spent running, lifting
yeah,
weights, eating well,
yeah,
traveling, doing all these things that just nobody. The reason why fighters get so much attention is because when most people will run away from violence and which is like it's the smart thing to do.
yeah,
If someone scary looking is in front of them, they look at it and think, I won't want to fight that guy.
yeah,
And it's kind of so when they look at us, there is something I've seen this when I've got older. I never used to
yeah,
see it when I was young, but then people look at me like I'm like you're willing to do that, and
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not an idiot. Like you can string a sentence together. You're not like just stupid. There
yeah,
must be something like in um, in human nature that's like passed down over time
yeah,
to just think like the strongest man in the village,
yeah,
the strongest man, the one that's willing to protect everyone. It must be. It must. You see people's eyes and look at fights. It's like wow.
yeah, yeah,
The top level guys like Anthony Joshua or Fury and them guys. Everyone's like wow, that
yeah,
guy, which I find interesting. But
yeah,
again, we only see the moments, but he's full of thousands of moments on their build
yeah.
up to that point, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
100%.
I
And
love
that's
it.
That was one of the reasons why we wanted to start the podcast, really, because I mean, like we're not from that professional background, myself and my wife. However, we've got 3 children that are currently in the middle of their kind of like elite kind of journey. Our youngest daughter, she's just kind of starting to choose different sports and things. However, because we knew of the sacrifices that we was going through, and like kind of financially how difficult it is with having our eldest who's kind of competing and going abroad competing. Then we've got 2 boys that are playing football for different teams, so they've got like kind of different times for like kind of training and like matches at a weekend.
Yeah.
I might not see my wife for like kind of 2 weeks or 3 weeks because she's away with like my like kind of eldest. And we was the reason that we kind of decided to do the podcast was to try and see whether this was like kind of normal, because we were thinking that we was doing something wrong. Thinking like we must be doing something wrong if we're not seeing each other like kind of for weeks on end. And as soon as you finish like kind of work, you're dropping off, you're picking up, then you're going somewhere else. However,
are you from a business business background? Or do you do what is it you do? Because
yeah,
you're putting a
so
lot
our
of effort
background
into it.
is so we have a couple of companies. So we help children to learn to read and write, but through playing sports and physical activities. So one is a phonics and reading company, and then the other one is a numeracy company. So we help children with the numbers and the maths, but again, it's through fun sports and physical
Yeah,
activities. And we always wanted to allow children to kind of experience all these different like kind of sports that there is, because you never know if the next like little Billy or Johnny is the next kind of like shot putter or
that's true.
javelin
Yeah.
or athlete or so we've kind of like linked different educational programs to different like kind of sports, just to allow the children to experience different activities, but it also has like an educational benefit to it as well.
You make it makes sense that you would be a keen parent to put, because you are doing well for yourself, and like you say, like you're not professional background, but you've got a professional background in something, haven't you? So
Yeah, yeah,
you get what I mean. So you've got businesses, so obviously you're not like you, you've got like a driven nature in yourself. You
yeah,
have to in order to like
yeah.
I take inspiration from like business people as well,
Right,
because
okay.
like one of my good friends that I live with in Birmingham, Lucas, he went to he was just on the national team with me. He didn't then he stopped and he was like working in Birmingham. I think he was working at Decathlon, and then he got like a recruitment job and stuff.
Right,
And
okay.
he kind of put the same effort into his recruitment as he did into his judo.
Right,
And then now he's out in LA. He lives in LA now. And we left judo at pretty much the same time. He lives in
right,
LA
okay.
and he's absolutely smashing it. He's
Yeah,
absolutely smashing life, because it's kind of, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to be a millionaire or something,"
yeah,
but really actually becoming one is actually a very difficult task.
yeah, yeah,
And it takes something a little bit different to become that person. And are
yeah,
you willing to literally not see your friends and go to be in the
yeah,
office until this time? Are you willing to travel
yeah,
to wherever to get this deal done? Or are you? And most people, I don't blame them either. It's not a criticism. Most people are not cut for that.
yeah,
Most
yeah,
people are not cut out for that thing. And being, some people are like the best parent in the world, some people are cut out to be great parents,
yeah,
just by caring and being around the kid. But some people are just not cut for it.
yeah,
It's like having a driven nature to be the best parent or the best business person or the best athlete. There is
yeah,
just something. It's something like I knew you wasn't. I knew you hadn't. You had to have something else about you as in business wise, because
yeah,
if you're doing all that for your children, he's got to be some. You've got to be driven in yourself, haven't you? You're trying to
yeah,
do the best
definitely.
for them.
Yeah, I think it's like with like you mentioned about your parents, they were like fully supportive and fully behind them, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
with like all our 4 children, like when for using Ava as an example, our eldest, when she was younger, we allowed her to try loads of different sports. She
Yeah.
tried like a ballet and a kind of dancing, a swimming, a horse
Mm-hmm.
riding, gymnastics, and a football. Tried loads of different sports, and then she fell in love with like kind of playing tennis.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before, Sebastian has only ever really done 2 sports. He did his boxing, and then he fell in love with his like kind of football.
Mm-hmm.
So we've tried to let the children all um, experience loads of like different sports and whatever they're passionate in, then we'll kind of fully support them. However, what we've said is if they are wanting to kind of focus on one particular sport, like probably like we are with work,
Yeah,
they need to put in the hard work and they need to do it and they need to do it kind of properly.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, like
That's
we're
kind of what
quite
my dad's very, very similar to you in that. My dad is he doesn't see the point in doing something if you're going to do it like rubbish. Like I remember, like even like cleaning the house or anything, everything
yeah.
is to him. It's like it's he he'd rather you just not do it if it's going to be a half-hearted job.
Yeah,
It's
we say that quite a lot,
yeah,
and again, it's
yeah,
always nice when we've. I mean, like I say, we've been really, really like kind of lucky to meet some amazing like kind of like professional athletes on the
mm,
show, which has been amazing for us. Um, it's just so nice to hear people who have got, you know, like kind of a similar kind of
yeah,
mindset, like the parents that are kind of behind the athlete as well. Because they said like with us, we never thought, or we thought we might be being a bit like too pushy with like
mm,
how we like kind of spoke to the children, or when they were like kind of going away and they were away for like kind of 2 and 3 weeks at a time, like Ava is with the tennis, and we were thinking like, is this like kind of normal for a
yeah,
14, 15-year-old? But then when we kind of speak to people like yourself, it's like, oh well, it is quite, it's not normal to a normal child who's
mm,
probably going down the academic route. However, for a child who's wanting to be successful in elite level sport, it's probably a normal kind of
yeah.
childhood for
I
them,
think
isn't it?
I was listening to a podcast on like anxiety the other day with stuff, and like there's things that cause you anxiety, and like you had a little bit of anxiety about whether you were doing the right thing for your children and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's just all that means is just that you care. So like
yeah,
that, so you've won the first battle just by caring.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so like I if you like anxiety is kind of a normal, like it should just be. We all experience it, and we should all be
yeah,
anxious about certain things.
yeah,
All that means, like I'm anxious about losing fights. I don't want to lose a fight, so it means I'm going to do something about it. I don't
yeah,
want to be poor, so I'm going to try and work
yeah.
hard to try and get to. There's certain things I feel anxious about that
Okay.
it's not in a negative way, but kind of like I'm anxious. I've not got children yet, but I'm going to be anxious as a parent. So I want to do a good job.
Yeah,
But I feel like that's what makes you actually do a kind of a good job. You're anxious about
yeah,
not being too pushy to your
yeah,
children,
yeah,
so that's so you're probably not going to be pushy. So
yeah,
it's there's the fact that we have concerns about stuff are kind of the
yeah,
reasons is why you're probably going to do well. I bet
yeah,
you don't want to be poor, you don't want your business to go bad but to not do well. So you probably got the same anxiety about your business, haven't you? The cash flow
yeah,
or whatever. That you might have the same thing.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
See, I was really anxious about starting these podcasts
yeah,
because I wasn't the most kind of extrovert kind of person. I
mm,
was never the one that would kind of like push the way to the front. So
yeah,
for me to do like kind of a podcast to kind of record it, to put it on like kind of social media, to put it on
yeah,
various like kind of platforms, it's quite like outside my comfort zone.
yeah,
However, it was at a point where we was wanting to like kind of push ourselves and kind of develop myself a little bit more. And it kind of coincided with like the children's activities. So for me to do this, I was quite kind of anxious and nervous about doing these now, and we've probably done about 12 like kind of shows
yeah.
now, and I'm finally just kind of like calming down and thinking like, do you know
You're
what?
well researched as well. Like you knew everything. You knew everything. You've known everything that you needed to know about me
Yeah,
today. So there's again, like you're saying, that anxiety has probably drawn something out of you, hasn't it? It's made you probably
yeah,
try to become
definitely.
like a. There's there's loads of. I feel like I've just learned a lot in the past 2 years. I've become wiser than I could have like
Right.
what
Okay.
then I probably had drawn in like the past 25 years, like the ones
Yeah.
prior. And I've just been, like a lot of people, like I see myself as like a leader at the gym as well. Like and I say that I like that as well. Like I want
Yeah.
like the lads ask me things if
Yeah.
they they want advice. They might be struggling financially. They might want they might want that advice.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I'm able to kind of offer
Yeah.
some knowledge. I've seen quite a bit now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, especially just experiences
Yeah.
make you who you are. And I feel like I've got like a lot of life experience into like
Yeah.
in a short period of time.
Yeah.
I'm only 28, but I've managed to survive as an athlete up until this point.
Yeah.
Um,
But Well, it's similar to, like we mentioned, we had Jay Elliott on, the swimmer, and he's at the moment he's toying with like kind of retiring from his swimming career. However, he said from all the experiences that he's had, kind of positive and like negative, he's decided to set up his own like kind of consultancy kind of firm, because he says like from the experiences that he's kind of had, he can kind of draw on, say, first-hand experience of what it's like and how to kind of cope with different situations and how to cope with loads of different like kind of scenarios, because he's been there and like kind of done that. So when you've kind of had those sort of experiences, there's so many transferable skills that you can like kind of use when you move into the next part of your kind of career after you've been competing.
Yeah, I kind of I got around with quite a lot of business people from when I was quite young as well. So I've always been comfortable around like corporates and things like that. And when I got into sport, I realized there's a good relationship between business and sport as well. Business and athletes. Business and athletes have a very, like, the businessmen usually business people. Sorry, so there's women as well. But yeah, business people as a whole, they respect what an athlete goes through because they've probably gone through something similar. And they're like, look at them and they think, wow, yeah, you've done pretty well at this. Wow, you're quite. And most people were shocked when they see that I'm a fighter, because I'm not like what they have in the head of like the normal kind of MMA fight, which is, I always used to think that was a real positive, because you don't want the sport to be tainted as like some scumbag sport. So I always found it quite easy to get in with businesses and stuff and get supported by businesses and working with businesses to try and do stuff. And then what's actually ended up happening down the line is I've actually found that I have like skills in other areas that I've never done before. It's kind of all from what I've done on the training training. So I've got like people skills, leadership skills. Like I'm really into like processes and things like that. And I like fixing processes in whatever business it is. I like making sure like A to Z is kind of each step is kind of mapped out correctly, and we do it. But that's the only place I've done that. I've never in school. I've only ever done that like on the mats or planning training and things like that. So it just shows you're not. A lot of people say you're doing something mindful, you need a backup plan and all that stuff, but like that's for people with like really negative thoughts. like backup plans are for people who don't see the positives in kind of the thing you're currently doing. All they're basically saying to you is that the sport that you're pursuing is not worth doing. But if you think it is, and that you're going to draw, as long as you along the way you're drawing from the experience and kind of the hard work and all that stuff, I think it definitely is a positive in the skill set is just so transferable. So 100%. People should just stick at it.
100%.
Yeah.
So George, as we come to the end of the show, unfortunately, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on Elite Children, a Family Portrait.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure the listeners at home can definitely see they're not alone in raising elite level children. Good luck with any future fights and any ventures that you're engaged with. Is there any kind of projects that you're involved with at the moment that you'd be able to share with us that we can look out for in the future?
Yeah, so I've done a couple of things since I've come from a heart operation. I supported Cardiac Risk in the Young, which is a charity which it's CRY. You to be fair, your children have probably been tested by them, one of them will have. They go around in bands to athlete sites and basically test them for heart problems. So I raised money for that. I think me and my dad raised around £2,000 for that.
Wow.
And obviously a lot more awareness as well. I'm going to try and get them down to this gym and do like a test on these athletes here and do a bit of promotion there. So there's like 30 young athletes that probably could benefit from that. And then now Liverpool Heart and Chest Hospital charity, which is I think it's the biggest specialised heart hospital in all of Europe. And the charity attached to them, I donated all my ticket commission to them this weekend. So money that I earned from that. So I think it was like over £300, and then I've got all my friends are donating and things like that. So that's kind of my kind of bit of a passion thing. So they're going to introduced me to hopefully to some children that are kind of wanting to see kind of, you know, that there's kind of hope for them, especially ones that are sports athletes. So they're going to bring me into the hospital and hopefully kind of do things, do some awareness and stuff, and hopefully inspire some people to keep going, and don't give up.
Brilliant. So from listening to your stories today, words like dedication, determination, resilience and bravery all kind of spring to mind. Genuinely one of the nicest guys that we've had on the show as well. So I'm sure with a mindset like that, any future fights and ventures that you engage with will be a huge success. So George Smith, thank you very much for being on Elite Children.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.